What is up, you guys? Steven here for Off Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays and 4Ks, and what we like to buy and own our movies and TV shows. If you're a collector, you want to be a collector, or you just want to talk about movies, I think this is a good spot for you to be. I'd love to talk to you, love to hear about your collection, all that stuff. So hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when I do updates. We're doing more live streams now. This is something new. And if you like what you see, a like really helps. Take a second, hit that like button. It really helps get the word out about the channel. So I've been doing these updates over the last, month or so as I go through my collection and reorganize. And so I've just been updating you guys, showing you my complete collection in sections. I don't like to do an hour and a half, 2 hour long video just going over the entire, collection. So what I'm doing is each section as I work on it, then I'm going to share that section with you. We've been doing boutiques first because they're the most fun. We did Arrow Video, we did Criterion, and now we're going to talk about Blue Underground. So if you haven't seen those previous videos, basically what's happening is I've decided to reorganize my collection, my movies, by genre, and then within the genre, alphabetically. So I know a lot of you guys do your entire collection alphabetically, but I tend to shop my collection for things to watch by genre first. So I need things broken up in genre: horror, action, sci-fi, comedy, documentary, all that stuff. So other than the studios, if it's a studio I really like Criterion, like Arrow Video, and I have several titles, then I will do a separate section for that studio. Because usually they do such similar packaging that those things look really good together on the shelf. And outside of having the movies, which is the most important thing, if they look cool on the shelf, that's, again, that's cool. So that's why we do studio collections. And the Blue Underground is no exception. I have a few Blue Underground titles that aren't in this pile that are standard Blu-ray releases, and I didn't bother digging those out of the collection because they're going to go away. Because Blue Underground is pretty rapidly going through their library and doing new scans and putting things out in 4K. And we're not talking about it enough, but they're doing some of the best 4Ks in the boutique arena. Their 4Ks are stunning. Stunning. So we're going to focus on that. I have one Blu-ray title in here. It's a nice package, and I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to flip it until they do actually a 4K of it, because I'm not so sure that Blue Underground is going to be able to keep this title in their collection. I'm not so sure. We'll see. So let me show you. This is a small collection of Blue Underground titles. I'll show them to you now, and then after this, I'm going to sort them in alphabetical order. It's literally going to take 5 minutes, and then I'll put them in their spot on the shelf. If you have a question about any of these titles, just ask me, and I'll answer it either in the comments, or if it's something that requires more time and attention, then we'll do a video. And it might be something we do a video on if it's in between. If it's more than I want to type, but less than a 10 or 15 minute long video, then it might be something I answer on TikTok, and I'll let you know that too, because if I can do it in under 3 minutes, I will do a video on TikTok to answer your questions. So let's go through these. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm not going to make this a 30-minute video. Let's just dig into it, and I'll show you what we've got. Just made myself a couple of notes here so that I don't forget things. So we're going to start off with one of their earliest 4Ks, and you'll see why I want these together on the shelf as we go through them. And it is The Final Countdown from 1981. This movie stars Martin Sheen and Kirk Douglas. It's actually produced by Lloyd Kaufman. Look at this beautiful lenticular. And they are doing very sort of elegant, modern, black slipcovers for all of these. Now, that's the one thing we've talked about in collecting. You're not guaranteed these if you wait too long, the slipcovers, especially the lenticulars. The lenticulars are going away. I don't have lenticulars for everything, but so far, everything I want, I do have slips for. Now, I'm not buying all of their reissues. This is my opportunity to go through Blue Underground's collection as they reissue things and buy the things that I think are the best, things that I'm going to watch over and over again. This is a really fun science fiction film. It's a little bit on the lower budget side, but for Lloyd Kaufman, it's one of his highest budget, if not his highest budgeted film ever made. It tells the story of this battleship that gets sucked through a time portal kind of thing, and then they find themselves with the opportunity to stop the events of Pearl Harbor. The question is, do they do it? What impact would that have on our timeline. It's not as deep as it sounds. They don't go as deep as they could, but it's good. It's a good little film. It's fun to watch. It's recommended. Bump the mic. Great. All right. Okay, next on the collection is the 1971 film Daughters of Darkness. Daughters of Darkness. This is a unique femme fatale driven riff on the vampire, on Dracula, that kind of thing. It's very Euro, very sort of sexy, got that sexy 60s, 70s Euro vibe going. And this 4K is stunning. Like, I'll never forget the specular highlights on her lipstick in this thing. It's beautiful. And this is a very sort of chill, slow burn Euro kind of watch. I like this movie. I really, let me zoom out here. I have my camera zoomed in. I really enjoyed this one. And again, beautiful. There's the original artwork there. Beautiful 4K presentation for it. All right. Coming up next is Dead and Buried. I believe there's a couple of different lenticular, like these hollow foil lenticulars. I think there's a couple of different ones. This is the one I ended up with. It's a horror story set in a small town, which I think it's a New England type of town. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely that vibe. I have to replace this case too, by the way, in shipping. This was damaged, and I've got to figure out where to get a case. But fortunately, the slipcover came through okay. This one's most notable for a couple of things. One, has an early acting appearance of Robert Englund. He's in this film. And it also has a one-take practical special effects sequence that is a stunner. This 4K is beautiful. It may throw you off at first because it's kind of got this bloomy glamour shots look, and there's a lot of fog and that kind of thing, but that's in the source. That's how the movie is supposed to look. This is actually a very stunning 4K presentation. All right. So our next film is a mainstay of Blue Underground. They've released this several times. Let's see, what year is this? I forgot. What year? Yeah. 1978's Toolbox Murders. This was remade. Not well, by the way. There's no. Hopefully we don't get blocked here. That's not really nudity there. Basically, it's a slasher film with a killer who's using tools from a toolbox in an apartment building. It's a very fun slasher flick. I don't know if this has reversible art. I didn't flip it, apparently. So let's see. Did it have? It didn't. No reversible art here. What a disappointment that is. Anyway, it's a very pretty, again, 4K transfer, but none of these are bad 4K transfers. They're all great. I'll try and note the very best of them. Of the ones we've looked at so far, Dead and Buried and Final Countdown are the best so far of what we've looked at. Right? Oh, all right. Why am I dragging? I've had a lot of coffee today. All right, now we're going to do a trilogy of Lucio Fulci films. There's a couple of different distributors putting out Fulci. Fulci did a lot of movies in the 70s and 80s, but Blue Underground has the market cornered on some of his best films. And this is the 1982 film, The New York Ripper. And I think this is either a film that you love or you hate, because while it's got the slasher tropes, this is a movie about a serial killer. It's kind of got the giallo. It's not really a giallo film, but it's got that sort of giallo procedural element in it. But there is a comedic element in this thing. I don't really want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it. I know it's an old movie, so it shouldn't matter, but I don't like to ruin it for people if I don't have to. But there's a comedic element in this movie that either you appreciate and you find entertaining, or you hate it. And either reaction is fine. Either reaction is totally arguable. Tons of special features here. Most of them brought over, but Blue Underground tries to do at least one or two new things when they do these 4Ks, which is very much appreciated. But their special features are pretty definitive when they did them for the Blu-rays. Fulci has all the Fulci tropes. It's super violent. Has one particular scene that's really, really violent. Highly recommend it. Okay. All right, we got another Fulci film here. This is just checking the year. I'm so bad with the years, you guys, so I have to double check my mind on these. The House by the Cemetery from 1981. House by the Cemetery. Again, tons of bonus features. This is a very nice 4K. I don't know that this one's your demo disc. Again, no new artwork for this one, but plenty of bonus features. This Fulci film has the uber violence that you're looking for with Fulci, but it also has sort of this haunted house vibe going on because I believe this is actually New England. A small New England house. People buy it and get more than they bargained for in their basement. Very much recommended. Very fun film. Nice 4K. Now we're gonna not bury the lead because we're doing the Fulcis together, and I'm gonna show you what I think is Blue Underground's best 4K. If you want to know what their best 4K so far is, I'm going to show it to you right now. And it is another Lucio Fulci film. This one's from 1979, and it is Zombie. This is my second favorite zombie film of all time. My first is Dawn of the Dead, then it is Lucio Fulci's Zombie. When you consider the quality of the source material of this film, Blue Underground, led by William Lustig, did an incredible job. This is a mind-blowingly beautiful 4K. The practical special effects are popping in this one. In fact, there's one spot where they pop a little too much, and you can see the line where the special effects stop. But that's the 1970s, and I love it. But there's an iconic, obviously, two iconic, what I think are iconic special effects sequences in this movie that are stunning. This one brings the zombie motif together with, some sort of island supernatural things. It's a fun movie. And wow, this is a stunning 4K. This is not just a stunning 4K for the Blue Underground collection. This is a stunning 4K compared to pretty much everything out there. It's got to be top 10 best 4Ks ever made, right? If you haven't seen it, that is a must. If you're only buying one Blue Underground release, that's the one you get. All right, now we're going to talk about one of William Lustig's own films from 1980, and this is Maniac. This one also was remade poorly. The original is still the best. It's a slasher movie, also set in New York City. There's some stuff in here that was shot in New York City without any licensing or permission, and those stories in the bonus features and in the commentary are fantastic. So yeah, for those of you who might not know, I think pretty much everyone does that's a collector knows that William Lustig, who owns Blue Underground, was a filmmaker himself. This is a very pretty 4K. This is top tier for a company who hasn't released a 4K that's not top tier. This is sort of the top tier. Their top tier 4Ks here. Spectator highlights in blood here stood out to me. There's a couple of sequences in blood where the little glisten of light in the room popping off the blood is just stunning. Just stunning. All right. Now we're going to talk about a movie that I appreciate, but isn't as good as you would hope it to be. So, what would you expect from two of the greatest horror film directors of all time, Dario Argento and George Romero, two guys who were also really good friends for many years, and they decide to get together and do a anthology film or a two-story film, basically two short films put together, based off Edgar Allan Poe shorts, with Harvey Keitel and Adrienne Barbeau. This sounds like magic. It sounds like magic, right? Well, here's a zinger for you. It was made in 1990. And why does that matter? Because that 1990 forward sort of was the beginning of the end of good movies from both of these creators, honestly. Argento had a couple of moments, and Romero had one moment maybe after 1990 of something good. So the film, Two Evil Eyes, ends up being okay. It's okay. The shorts are okay. There's some really cool camera movements in this film and some good bonus features that make it, for me as a filmmaker and student of film, worth owning. But the movie itself is just, it's just okay. And we get the original poster art there, which is pretty cool. This is a very nice 4K. It's, again, above board, above the line in quality compared to a lot of other boutique distributors 4Ks, but it's, it's not cream of the crop for Blue Underground. It's also not a cream of the crop film. It's just okay. I'm not saying it's bad. It's okay. I love Adrienne Barbeau from the 80s, so I'm happy to sort of see her in this film too. Harvey Keitel is always good. So there's a lot of positives that make this worth a watch and worth an own, but not their best. Not Blue Underground's, best film. Not by any means. Now we're going to talk about first or second. I think it's maybe the first. It's right there. I know I got Daughters of Darkness, The Final Countdown, and this film all really pretty close together. And as far as 4K releases from Blue Underground. Anyway, it's a 1982 film, Vigilante. 1982 film, Vigilante. Good bonus features there. This is basically sort of a riff on Death Wish. From the mid-70s to the mid-80s, there was a run on movies with vigilantes trying to clean up the streets because the cops couldn't do it. That kind of storytelling. And it all stemmed... Good grindhouse stems from the real world. And at that point in time, New York had a really bad reputation earned for extreme crime on the streets. And movies riffed on fixing that. And this is one of them that did that. This is less talked about than Death Wish or even Cobra, the Stallone movie, was sort of toward the end of that. But this one has Fred Williamson and Robert Forster, two mainstays of grindhouse cinema from the 70s. And it's so cool to see them in this movie together. Fred Williamson has the intro here. Some of these movies, including this one, would do a setup at the beginning, talking about the level of crime and how they got to stop it. And Fred Williamson, in his most Fred Williams himself, starts that element of the film at the beginning of the film. Very, very fun movie. Very beautiful 4K presentation. There's a lot of film grain here, but that's in the source. It is a freaking film. If you complain about film grain, then you don't really know what filmmaking is. There should be film grain, but the film grain here is balanced. Black levels are good. Colors pop. This is a very nice 4K of a very fun grindhouse sort of exploitation type of film. Highly recommended. Let's see, I don't remember if we got original. We did. We got original poster art here, and there's something in the design and color palette of this that really reminds me of some of the poster art for the movie The Warriors, which makes sense because it comes from the same era. It's that same type of grindhousey filmmaking. So, very cool film. I love this movie. You have to like that style of filmmaking or that type of storytelling. Maybe you don't. If you do, it's a must-have 4K. Now, the last movie in my collection is actually a Blu-ray. These have all been their 4K collection. It's, but I'm keeping it because I don't know what's going to happen with this director's work. It is what year? What year was this? I just looked at it and didn't pay attention. This is the 1986 film from Dario Argento, The Stendhal Syndrome. And it stars Asia Argento. This is a Blue Underground release, a very nice slip. This is some of their, let's see, we've got the original poster art there with Asia Argento on the cover. Plenty of bonus features. I'm an Argento fan. I love him. He is one of my top 5 favorite directors, so even his questionable stuff, this to me was at the end of his quality work. This, I believe, was one of the last Asia Argento films. One of the last movies of his that she was in, I believe. I think she's in something coming up. He's doing a new movie, I believe, and I think she's in that one. This one is very fun. It is also very challenging. I find challenging movies fun. He likes to put his daughter through the ringer, and he does so in this movie. And once again, there's some questionable sort of CG special effects in this movie, some early CG that does not age well, but that is okay. That is okay. It is still a good movie. This is more in his trauma era of filmmaking, so you know, your mileage may vary. I like this one. All right. And I'm looking, I know at this point in time, right now, as I'm recording this, there's a bunch of new bonus features being done for several Argento films. I don't know if this is one of them, but hopefully that means we'll get a 4K, which will make those special effects look worse. But that's my current Blue Underground collection. It is small, but it is mighty. Like I said, I have some other Argento films in standard Blu-ray. I think I have Inferno on the shelf still. But I didn't pull those out because they are literally going away. In fact, as I alphabetize the rest of the collection, when I come across them, I'm probably just going to pull them out and put them in a flip file because I know those movies are coming to 4K. I know they are. We all know they are. So anyway, that's my Blue Underground collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the Blue Underground 4Ks if you think they're as good as I do. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic about it, but I don't think so. Until next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV at home. I'll see you guys on the next one.